Hello everybody, it's Captain Jonathan Klein, Commanding Officer of Naval Support Activity, Hampton Roads. We're here with episode number 17 of Q&A with the Captain. So we've got a couple of topics to cover today, and I'll start off with the fact that we're still in Health Protection Condition Charlie. We've been that way since the middle of about March, and I wanted to let you know, so this email that I sent you today that contained the link to the video, in there I gave you a description of how we monitor the information and how we're making the decisions on what our health protection conditions are. I encourage you to read that, understand it, and if you have any questions about why and how we're doing that, please forward those up to your chain of command. We can answer them in subsequent videos or just have a conversation about it. But there is a very deliberate process that we're going through as we look at what the health protection conditions are and how we're managing that. Second, I want to encourage everybody, I took leave about 2 weeks ago. I just stayed local, stayed at the house. I got done with really a lot of work that's been building up that I've been ignoring, but I encourage everybody, it was a great week for me to get a little bit of that mental break, a little bit of separation from the daily struggles that I think we all kind of go through with COVID and the stressors that go along with that. So I know we have some leave restrictions in place based on travel out of the local area, but there is authorized leave available to you, and I encourage you to take advantage of that and take some time off for yourself and for your family, especially as we approach the end of summer. The beaches at Dam Neck and Fort Story are back open to us, and I think it's a good outlet for all of us to get out and take some time off and focus on the family. So the rest of this week, we've got a special guest here today, Chaplain Moynihan, Command Chaplain for NSA Hampton Roads, and Chaplain Moynihan, I'd like to welcome you and thank you for being here today.
Thanks, sir.
So part of the the Q&A, I think people understand as much as we all can based on what's in the news, the transmission of COVID and the physical effects of the disease. But one of the things I mentioned, I took leave, and I think one of the things we're all struggling with to understand a little bit is that mental and emotional impact of COVID on us and why we're responding to this crisis the way we are. And so I just wondered if you could give some thoughts on that and have any helpful advice for us.
Absolutely, yes, sir. The question, why is this happening to me, is a really prevalent and common question we ask, but unfortunately one that doesn't often yield really changeable results. But the question, how might I grow through this, is a question that when we ask, we can find a concrete and real answer to that. And one of the best ways that we can grow in the midst of suffering and uncertainty, of all the variety of things that have afflicted and confronted us over these last couple months, is to find ways to be grateful for our suffering. This is not something easy to do. We will also often show gratitude for the things we have. Mm-hmm. So we might be grateful that we have a house we can be together in, or that I have a job that stabilizes me. And these are good things to be grateful for. But what I mean is to find ways to give thanks for the things that really are struggles and obstacles. I was a Boy Scout growing up, and I had the Boy Scout camp manager would say, "We never have problems. We only have opportunities." Right? And he reframed the experience. So I want to encourage us to think through what we're going through as an opportunity to grow. How can you give thanks for what you are suffering through, and how might you find ways to show gratitude for the growth that you might perceive in this?
So you talk about reframing. Tell me what you mean. Like, so am I supposed to go home and say, okay, I'm gonna look at the world different from now on?
Absolutely, right? I mean, we do this all the time, right? If you have a car accident, you will never look at your car, the streets, what you're doing the same way. All the time, our worlds are being reframed. Now, the question is, who is reframing the world for you? Is your world being reframed for you, or are you in the business of reframing your own world? And I think in the midst of 2020, we would be wise to consider that the uncertain, unexpected is a new normal for us. Mm-hmm. Right? That around the next corner is something that we don't expect. And there's some certainty to that, right? There's certainty to regular and continual change. Right. And if we're willing to recognize what that means for us, we might find that this present experience might prepare us for a tomorrow that, if we were surprised by, would be even worse. I'm reminded of the experience of the great influenza, which plagued our country about 100 years ago. Right, it began in the army camps of World War I in Kansas and spread throughout the world. And we have an opportunity where this dramatically more minor crisis, not more minor, but more constrained crisis, really can shape our capacity to look at tomorrow. We don't know what tomorrow will bring. We know it's uncertain. And if we're thankful for this time right now, we might find that we are ready for the uncertainty of tomorrow.
Well, that's a pretty wise word. So, so if you were going to give advice to someone like me, like, what can I start doing tomorrow? How can I change? How can I? Is it like I said? Do I whiteboard it out? Do I just kind of lay out all the factors? Should I be talking to someone? Do you bring a physically distanced group together? What are some techniques you can use to accomplish that reframing, do you think?
Yeah, that's a great question. A lot of times we start with ourselves, right? Because we want to reframe our own experience. The challenge we have is that is incredibly difficult. I've been in the business of talking to myself for 37 years now, and I've honed it to a science, to the point where I have patterns are deeply ingrained. And to shift myself out of those patterns takes a lot. And for me just to choose to willingly do it is not really easy. So if I start with me, I will not be very effective. But if I change my perspective and say, my objective is not to encourage me, but my objective is to encourage you, I will find that I'll walk away from that experience not having not only encouraged you, but having brought encouragement to myself as well. And this is easy for me as a chaplain because this is my job. This is what I do. And I find that when I try to just encourage myself, it doesn't work. When I walk into the various mission fields I have, and I engage face-to-face with other folks and bring encouragement to them, what happens to my own soul? Well, it's encouraged, it's enlightened, it's brightened. It's because what I've given to them, I've seen their response, I've watched your face as I give these words, I've put these thoughts not just in my mind, but out into the world. And having your action, having your response confirmed my thoughts, I now believe more firmly in what I said. Before, I might have said to myself 100 times, never believed it. Now I say it to you. By saying it once to you and seeing, oh yeah, that's right. Now I can say, oh yeah, that is a good point, right? So by encouraging my neighbor, I encourage me.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's great. And so one of the things I struggle with is, everybody's going through this at the same time. We all have these uncertainties, these struggles, and sometimes it feels like it's not fair to talk about your concerns with someone else because you feel like you're laying your troubles on them, and when they have their own. Sounds to me like what you're saying is that's the only way to do it, is to talk about it out loud. One, you hear it out loud, you get it into the light of day, and two, you either get confirmation or maybe a different perspective back, and through that sharing, both people can change their perspectives of what's going on. And I really like that idea about building that, for the future, having that response mechanism built in, or strengthening your responses for the future through how we're responding to this one.
Absolutely. And so you shared previously with me your own personal experience and coming to terms with this concept of compassion, and how compassion is expressed through someone even just listening to your story and hearing what you have to say. I think that absolutely plays a role in that if you walk through life simply saying, be encouraged, and never share your own need for encouragement, that's one side, people will stop listening.
Yeah.
But if we model these lives where on one hand we encourage my neighbor, and a second rely on my neighbor to encourage me, we develop a much more organic and trust-building relationship where we actually know each other more thoroughly, and neither of us is just playing a part. We're just being ourselves. And that openness is what defines relationships and actually fosters and develops growth within those two.
Chaps, I really appreciate that. This has been a great conversation today. I wish we had more time, more space on the memory card on the camera to go on. But so let me ask you: is there anything you want to put out to the command and to our families that might be watching this right now? Yeah.
So my role as your chaplain is to find new and innovative ways to provide religious support to all of you, to your families, to your souls. We're struggling to do that and find the best way possible. We have returned to in-person services, so Sunday morning at 10:30 at Northwest Annex, and then Wednesdays at noon here at headquarters. Our chapels are active, and we want to invite you to come wearing a mask. We'll observe all the COVID-19 social distancing best practices. You can also watch those services online through our Facebook account as well. That's the NSA Hampton Roads and Northwest Annex Chapels Facebook page. We tried to make that name longer, and we just couldn't do it. So
okay, great. Normally I close out with wash your hands, wear your mask, be safe, but I'll offer you the close out with the word of the day today.
Yeah, we're going to say the word of the day today is gratitude. It's an attitude of gratitude. I want to encourage you to find ways to be thankful, even for the hard and dark things in this world. So we'll share them together in common.
All right. Thanks very much, Jeff.
Absolutely.
Thanks, everybody.